North London. A place where history whispers through the streets, and the air is thick with stories of the past. A place of bustling markets, quiet parks, and rows of houses holds a piece of the city's rich tapestry. Among these, 14 Waterloo Road stood unremarkable. To any passerby, it was just another quiet, tree-lined street in North London. But over a century ago, a terrifying scheme unravelled, revealing the cold-blooded plans of one of England's most infamous serial killers. A chilling story that sent shivers down the spines of England. A killer who lured women with the promise of happiness and protection. The story begins not with a bang, but with a splash of water. An innocent sound that would herald the beginning of a nightmare. George Joseph Smith was a man with a twisted talent. He knew exactly how to find lonely women, gain their trust, and marry them. The trial of George Joseph Smith would captivate the nation, revealing the depths of his depravity. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the shocking details emerged. The public was horrified, yet morbidly fascinated. The newspapers couldn't print enough copies to satisfy the demand for every gruesome detail. In the end, justice was served, but the scars left on Waterloo Road and its residents would never fully heal. In December 1914, Smith married Margaret Lloyd. Within a day, he took her to a solicitor to create a will, leaving him all her possessions. Just hours later, she was found dead. At the time, no one suspected foul play. An apparent accident, a tragic fall into a bath. Grief-stricken, or so he claimed, Smith collected his wife's insurance money and vanished. This seemingly innocent accident set off a chain reaction, one that would soon expose the terrifying truth. Charles Burnham, the father of Smith's previous wife Alice, heard of this new death. Burnham was a man of keen observation and deep intuition. At the time of his daughter's passing, he couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone amiss, and when he discovered the similarities between the deaths, he was convinced they were too striking to ignore. He sent a tip to Scotland Yard, and the investigation took a chilling turn. Scotland Yard assigned Detective Inspector Arthur Neal to investigate the case. Intrigued by the similarities, Neal began piecing together the puzzle and discovered the horrifying truth. In 1898, Smith had married Caroline Thornhill. In 1908, while still married to Caroline, who was in prison at the time, he married Florence Wilson, only to leave her with £30, about £4,000 in today's money. He then went on to marry Edith Peglar on 30th of July 1908. In October 1909, he married Sarah Freeman and soon after disappeared with all her money. He later married Bessie Mundy and Alice Burnham. Finally, in 1914, he married Alice Reed. By the time of his marriage to Margaret, he had 7 bigamous marriages, of which 3 wives had died under very similar circumstances. To prove his theory of foul play, Neal enlisted the help of a renowned pathologist, Sir Bernard Spilsbury. Spilsbury believed there was no way all these women simply fainted in their baths. In a groundbreaking experiment, he devised a simple yet ingenious experiment. He set up one of the baths in a police station and hired some female divers to assist. He tried to push them under the water forcefully, but found it impossible to do so without leaving evidence of the women struggling. Spilsbury had an idea. Without warning, he grabbed the feet of one of the unfortunate volunteers in the bath and pulled sharply. Her head was suddenly submerged, and her mouth and nostrils were filled with a sudden rush of water. Fortunately, he was able to resuscitate the poor lady. Spilsbury had now demonstrated how a person could be easily drowned in a bath. Armed with this evidence, the police finally had what they needed to connect the dots. George Joseph Smith was not a grieving husband, but a cold-blooded killer. His carefully constructed facade of normalcy crumbled, revealing the monster beneath. The police discovered that Smith had married 7 women, all under different names. 3 of them, Bessie Mundy, Alice Burnham and Margaret Lloyd, had died under strikingly similar circumstances. The trial of George Joseph Smith sent shockwaves through Britain. The newspapers dubbed him the Brides in the Bath murderer, a moniker that highlighted the chilling nature of his crimes. The prosecution presented a compelling case detailing Smith's pattern of deception, his callous disregard for human life, and the irrefutable scientific evidence provided by Spilsbury. The jury deliberated for barely an hour before returning with a guilty verdict. The judge, in his sentencing, described Smith as a man of exceptional wickedness and cruelty and sentenced him to death. On August 13, 1915, George Joseph Smith was hanged at Maidstone Prison. His crimes sent a ripple of fear through Edwardian England, shattering the illusion of safety and security in the most ordinary of places. The family home. Smith's case became a landmark in forensic science. It established the importance of meticulous investigation, the power of observation, and the potential of science to unmask even the most cunning criminal. The chilling tale of the Brides in the Bath remains a grim reminder of the dark secrets that can hide behind closed doors. The story warns us of the danger in trusting appearances, where love became a weapon and trust a deadly trap, forever haunting those quiet streets and reminding us that even the most ordinary lives can hide extraordinary horror.